And we're back. It was a problem with the input for the audio. It wasn't any problem with the audio itself, which is something else we need to think about when it comes to these cluster machines. So JAWS is up and running. I've gone through the entry systems. There's nothing on the screen for to be reading at the moment, so let's have a look and just see what's occurring. Now I'm using a mouse at the moment, but of course I don't have a visual. I don't have visual impairment, so perhaps I'm not the best person to do this kind of testing. But I'm assuming that students will be using a keyboard and keyboard commands to navigate through the menus when it comes to JAWS. I mean, I've not used JAWS for a couple of years, but it doesn't seem that very much has changed, unfortunately. It's not particularly intuitive to use, even as somebody who doesn't have a visual impairment. It relies on metadata to place the user kind of geographically within the screen, which is very useful. The descriptions are good. The settings when it comes to voice are fairly they're fairly kind of comprehensive. One of the issues that I think that people will find if a student is using JAWS themselves for the first time is the rate of speaking. The rate of speaking when you start is fast, really fast. But there is an option in the setup menu straight away to change that. And then also, of course, there is your JAWS Professional bar. Okay, with our options here. So what we have to remember is it's not just reading what's on the screen. What it is describing what's on the screen as well, which is equally important with somebody with visual impairment. It means that it's not simply text it's reading. It's using a whole bunch of metadata, a whole bunch of coding to try to identify if a box appears on the screen, and then it will describe what's in the box, and it will identify what is open, and then in certain buttons it can give instructions as to how to move on, what's the next move when you're navigating a screen. So I'm going to just use the up and down buttons. So we've got our options menu. It's describing it's an options menu. Now, because the JAWS is saying menu, then the user knows. So the user knows that it's a menu. The user knows if they tag down, if they press the down button, that there'll be other choices there. And also, if you have a listen, just let's listen to that one again. M. It also gives you a quick key choice as to what to press if you want to use that specific menu. So it said M, so I'm going to press M. And then so what you're given there is you're given a shortcut as to what to press to get somewhere. Because if you think about this, okay, visual impairment means that you're in the physical world, you're placing yourself without the same references that other people have, and it's the same in the digital world. What the screen reader does, it gives somebody with visual impairment a reference as to what they're doing, and the reason that they give shortcut keys, it means that it takes away the cognitive load of the person using JAWS, trying to remember where they are and trying to remember what the next step is and trying to remember what the last step is. So instead of using arrow keys, which is a direction, which can be sometimes very abstract, they use the letter tags. So it's a little bit of a shortcut, a little bit easier. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back. I'm going to press escape. And we're going to go to the options screening. So B for basics. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember off the top of my head where the voice rate is. Let's go down to voices for V. Okay, voice adjustment sounds good. So that beginning description describes as to what is going on. Now, the problem with JAWS, or not the problem with JAWS, or one of the deficits of JAWS, is that that detail of description is fantastic when the buttons are there and it's reading the buttons as buttons. However, if you move away from Microsoft's tools, such as using a Chrome navigation bar, it will not give you that level of description. It will tell you what a button is, or it will, sorry, it'll tell you that there's a button on the screen, but it won't tell you what that button is and what to do next, which is one of the big failings when it comes to JAWS. It's like any other technology. It's locked in to a certain way, a certain usage, or certain programs. So, but let's have a look and see if we can't try to slow the reading down. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick play with our menu. So that's going to be the rate that I'm going to use. I've been whacking tab because it's what I've seen many of the students who I've worked with this program before do to try and place themselves, and it's an easy way to get from button to button to button without having much confusion as to what the buttons do and where to do it. However, I'm assuming that the tab method is not perhaps the best method, so we're just going to have a quick look at that and see if there is any way that we can improve it. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the OK button on there. I'll press it. So let's open up a web page and see how it works. We're going to use Internet Explorer. We're going to stay on the Microsoft products. So let's have a look. So that's one of the issues when it comes to certain websites and screen readers. Accessibility-wise, descriptive technology and text-to-speech like this relies on there being a fairly simple layout when it comes to web pages and when it comes to coding of the web pages. We don't really have that at the moment, which means that we have extremely long descriptions of information that perhaps may not be relevant. But let's go through the menu and see what we've got here. Okay, so that information is not going to help us. Let me move back to the mouse. So we've got buttons here. Tap, 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 tap. And away we go. Lots of images. What if we want to find so some of these So we need to look at how to direct to different artifacts. I'm going to have a look on YouTube to see if there's any decent explanation. This is a video just for my own thoughts, really, and yeah, okay. It's a good tool that relies on people. I know. It's a good tool that relies on people doing the websites properly, so that can be a problem. But that's okay, that's good. Alright, that's a good start. Let's turn this off and we can take that home.